On May 12, 1959, a telegram from the KFWB News Bureau recited the event of the devastating bulldozing of the remaining homes in the Chavez Ravine neighborhood, whose residents had been actively protesting in solidarity with their homeland against their forced displacement. One of the last families, the Arrechiga family, were met with hostility through their physical removal from their property by local law enforcement. As they were being dragged out of their homes held by their hands and feet, they shouted, "Why don't they build the park in Rosalind Wayne's backyard or Mayor Polston's backyard instead of ours?" In today's world, events like Chavez Ravine battle continue to take place, but in more legal and discreet ways, because they're disguised as urban redevelopment, modernism, and gentrification, along with lighthearted claims of affordability and accessibility by private investors, classist politicians, and corporate powers. Which brings us to a much-needed reflection on how a long-standing Los Angeles Mexican barrio community with ties to the land since the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo could have been cleared out and replaced for the purpose of a massive ballpark and new home to the Brooklyn Dodgers, after the initial plan was to provide more housing for the overwhelming number of low-income and unhoused populations of Chavez Ravine and surrounding areas of Los Angeles of the time. Chavez Ravine was made up of 3 communities, Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop, serving as a home to hundreds of families living in 600 houses for decades. But in 1949, the Los Angeles Public Housing Authority and the City of Los Angeles instigated an agreement to replace the existing foundations of Chavez Ravine with federally funded public housing that would fit more people in smaller spaces. This was supported by a report from the Department of Health, who had titled Chavez Ravine as the worst slum in the city of Los Angeles. But this wasn't a fully accurate report of the area because of the history of neglect by the city. It was a force of erasure of an entire community and their culture, overlooked and fueled by the standards of modernism and the quote-unquote American dream image. After the city probed residents to sell their property from promised rehousing in Ravine between the timeline of the 1950 to 1957, the word of the city had become pure talk. But fortunately, the indecision on the housing put a hold on the push for evictions. The initial housing plan in 1950 was to build 10,000 new units funded by public housing. Shortly after, there was a change for larger public housing projects instead called Elysian Park Heights that would accommodate up to 16,000 residents via 13-story buildings. But these plans for the new housing became problematic in the blueprints and increasingly unrealistic to effectively rehouse all the evicted residents in the area. With the fast forward to 1957, the Brooklyn Dodgers owner, Walter O'Malley, was the buzz of the late 1950s. And not just among his baseball fans. While O'Malley was searching for a new home for his Brooklyn Dodgers, the city of Los Angeles saw the opportunity to bring in a major infrastructure and establish another profitable landmark to the City of Angels. In the fall of 1959, O'Malley was promised a 350-acre land deal in Los Angeles to place his new Dodger Stadium with top-tier parking structures for his expected fan base. A promise that was not LA's to grant, but inevitably, they were able to obtain the remaining acres of land from the Chavez Ravine residents by force so the city could keep the 350-acre promise, dismissing their previous agreements and promises made to the hundreds of families who now were permanently displaced and homeless. With no way to legally retaliate, Chavez Ravine was erased. Circling back to the telegram, the Bureau shared the ravine is costing Los Angeles a lot more than money that could not be paid back to the families and their following descendants. This traumatic event demonstrated how communities that are not middle class, wealthy, white, or elite will continue to be a target of ill-communicated and unfair displacement. The reporter's final statement describing the broken promises made to Chavez Ravine community was too similar to the one we made the American Indian many years ago, leaving the lasting recognition that this event was an attack on human rights of the predominantly Mexican people of Chavez Ravine, something that the United States and its European ancestral history continue to perpetuate today.